My name is David Hall. I'm a clarinet player and bass clarinet player with the Delta Symphony Orchestra here in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I'm also the director of bands at Corning, Arkansas. And today I'm going to introduce you to the clarinet family of the orchestra. So what I have here is a standard B-flat clarinet, buffet brand. And as you can see, it's a long wooden cylinder. And on the end, you usually have a reed. And I brought a wooden reed here for you guys just in case, because most people will use the wooden reeds. These are made of bamboo. You actually have to soak them a little bit, make sure that they get nice and wet. Otherwise, they don't vibrate properly. And this is essentially what makes the sound. You blow on the reed through the mouthpiece and through the air, and depending on which holes you cover, you can get a certain set of notes. The sound is created by basically blowing air. You wrap your mouth into what we call an embouchure, and you blow air in a fast, cold, high-speed manner, and it causes the reed to vibrate and create the vibrations throughout the rest of the horn. One of the nicest things about the clarinet is its huge range. So we have three different ranges. We have the low range, which is called the shallow low. And as you notice, just like all the other woodwind instruments, as I pick fingers up, the horn basically acts as if it was shorter. In fact, here's a neat little trick I like to show my kids at school. If I'm playing a note that only uses a short part of the horn, let's say an E, which is just thumb and first finger, I can actually take this part of the horn off and still get the same note. So at this point, when you're playing an E, the horn, and I guess the physics around the horn, it doesn't really even know this part of the horn's there, except that it helps with the tuning a little bit and makes it sound a little richer. So you might have noticed that it sounded a little thinner, but otherwise it has a huge range. So I showed you a large number of notes in that lower range. If I add this button right here called the register key, I can take all those same fingerings and play in the clarion range, and that gives me a whole other octave and a half to play. And then, if we can take it even further, you go into what's called the altissimo, and these are the high notes that sometimes the kids are like, "Ooh, that's high and uncomfortable." But if you've got a good player and it fits the music and it has a large number of other size instruments supporting it, it can sound really nice and come through. So that's the altissimo range. So a combination of changing the fingerings as well as using note buttons that are basically like octave keys gets you into the different ranges. And that huge range that I showed you means that it has a lot of versatility. I can play low, soulful melodies, something along the lines of like a cello could play in the orchestra, or I could jump up there and hang out with the piccolos for a while. And that's one of the things that I love about playing the clarinet is it's not stuck in one range. It can do so many neat things. The original first orchestras, when it was invented, they started with just the strings. There were none of the woodwinds or brass and percussion had really been introduced yet. First of all, way back then, they weren't very good instruments. It was kind of like being stuck on an old PlayStation 1 instead of the PlayStation 4, right? The technology just wasn't quite there for those instruments to be good. Then, as they got better, and as also composers started to get bored with just strings, they started adding flutes and oboes and clarinets and bassoons, as well as brass instruments and percussion instruments along the ways. Clarinet can play with so much more volume than a single violin. You usually only have one or two, and it's great because that means you're a solo instrument. Most of the time when the composer has you play, he wants you to be the sound being heard and featured. And so it becomes very fun to play those roles.
What kind of wood is the clarinet made of?
Yeah, the wood is actually made on a clarinet out of Mingo or African blackwood. And there's actually a slight problem as we're starting to run out of African blackwood. So they're experimenting with some other woods out of countries like Honduras. But also, most of your student line clarinets that you might buy are actually made of plastic. You can even get them in color if you want to go that route. Your band director might not be too happy with you if you do that because they stick out like a sore thumb on the field. But plastic is really good for students. If you're ready to step up to a professional horn, at that point the wood makes a better sound. This is, as I said before, was the B-flat clarinet. And you may have heard we also have a smaller version of the horn called the E-flat clarinet. There's also a slightly longer, just barely version called the A clarinet, which plays in a slight different key. And then there's the alto clarinet, bass clarinet, and contralto and contrabass. There's a whole clarinet family. You can probably go on YouTube and just do a search for clarinet ensemble, and you'll see these huge stage fulls of all different sizes of clarinets. The bass clarinet is so tall, and because different people come in different sizes, this is basically a stop pin, and it'll let you make sure that the clarinet comes to me. One of the things that we always want to make sure we tell our players is bring the instrument to you. You don't have to go to the instrument, right? You're in charge of it. So this is from Tchaikovsky Nutcracker. This is another solo for the clarinet. There's a big trumpet fanfare at the beginning of this song, and then it picks up into the fast section, and the clarinet gets to play this.
Which type of clarinet do you like to play the most?
As far as playing, which one do I really enjoy playing? This is a kind of almost like asking a parent which kid is their favorite. Which one do they love more? I really enjoy getting to play principal clarinet and play a solo like that Gershwin that I played earlier. But there's also some amazing solo work on the bass clarinet as well. And I also have a blast. I have quite a bit of experience in percussion, so I've snuck into the percussion section a few times as well. So I'm almost so much of a jack of all trade that when you ask me that kind of a question, it's tough to say. I do enjoy mostly being on probably principal clarinet, but switching over to bass clarinet is not at all a consolation. And I would like to thank the Delta Symphony for inviting me to come make this video.
I hope you enjoyed this video about the instruments of the orchestra. If you like this one, please check out our other videos and give us a like and subscribe to our channel.